Yo, what's up, gamers? Hoyoverse just dropped us a brand new 3.6 live stream. They showed off a lot of stuff, but today we're talking about artifact sets. So we have two brand new artifact sets. One that's an HP 2-piece, another one that's a Hydro Damage 2-piece. So the Hydro Damage one is, what's it called again? Nymph's Dream. So the 4-piece effect is normal, charged, plunging, elemental skills, and elemental burst. Hit gives you a stack that lasts 8 seconds. It's each separate stacks. It works exactly like Polar Star. And so clearly the set is intended for Tartaglia and a couple other Hydro units that could possibly be coming in the future. Whenever you are under the effects of 1, 2, 3 or more stacks, your attack will be increased by 7, 16, or 25% respectively. And the Hydro damage will be increased by 4, 9, and 15% respectively. And then again, it's independent. The HP set, 2-piece HP, and then the 4-piece is elemental skill and elemental burst damage will be increased by 10%. The aforementioned effect will be increased by 8% after the character takes damage, which is interesting because taking damage is not something you really want to do. But there are a few characters that specialize in stuff like that. One that recently came out, and this may be something you want, maybe. We'll get into that in a moment. The effect will have a max of 5 stacks up to 80%, so we'll go up to 50% overall increase in damage for your skill and your burst. And again, it lasts 5 seconds. It works off field as well, which is good and important because that's what that character specializes in specifically. So then, because I know this is what you wanted and it's going to be in the thumbnail, Dehya. Is this Dehya's best set? Yes and no. See, technically, this is her best set in terms of raw stats. However, Emblem is still very competitive with her specifically because of how bad her energy recharge is until you get her C4 and subsequently her C6. If you do actually get that, you'll get more energy from the C4, but that's besides the point. As we all know, Dehya's energy is really bad, and that isn't helped out by this set at all. This set gives her a lot of stats in terms of actual damage. It gives her HP, which is good for C1 specifically. C0, not so much. And so this set is a bit worse, especially if you are a C0 player. And again, up to 50% elemental skill and burst damage, which is great because this is the only set that we have that's actually a 5-star set that gives us a large portion of elemental skill damage. And it's our second elemental, third elemental burst focus set, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. But that's great for Dehya because most of her damage comes from her burst anyways, and this will also massively increase her E-skill damage. Now, I mentioned having her C0 because I can't necessarily say you want to go out and farm this at C0 because you're not getting really any huge benefit from the HP. You're getting up to 50% skill damage, but at C0, her skill hardly does any damage in the first place. And without that bonus HP from the C1, you're not getting too much from this set. Now, granted, at C0, she does have one team that she pretty much excels in, which is Melganyu, but this really isn't helping you in that team, and effectively making that team worse because you're not running Tenacity of the Millith in that scenario. But again, that could be for a separate video. This set is great though if you are C1 and above, but Emblem's still going to be competitive because of that energy recharge issue. Emblem is still giving you basically a base of over 20% burst damage. So that's literally half of this thing's entire 4-piece. So, I mean, yeah. Depending on how much ER you will have, will make Emblem better. But this thing can nudge out a bit more damage. It's just, again, ER is the major issue. And I don't know if I could recommend farming this. I'm going to be farming it for the 2-piece because I need it for other characters. And you're going to want it for other characters as well because this is finally another HP 2-piece artifact set that we'll be getting. So then, who's it great on? Glad you ask. We have it right here. We have the characters that would want the 4-piece. And I know you're questioning me. The hell? Why is Eula, Heinzo, Miko, Nilou, and Alhaitham on there? Well, most of their damage is either from their skill or burst. This buffs both of them. Now, granted, I'm sure you're confused a little bit. Eula, for a lot of Eula teams, you're not always running a shielder. So this, in certain fights, can actually be really strong for her. But it's not going to be the end all be all because, well, you kind of have to take damage, and so you can't reliably get all 5 hits like in a Raiden stun scenario, right? The set's gonna fall off before then. Doesn't last too long. You'd have to get hit within like 5 seconds of your burst popping, right? So while this can be good for Eula in some scenarios, not her overall best. Punchy Boy, again, another yes and no scenario. Most of his damage is from his E skill and ult. This is the biggest increase you can get from those, but again, requires you to be hit. And if you're not running him with a shield, like it's not too good. And again, most of his teams don't want the shield anyways. They're elemental reaction based, so Zhongli is kind of like a no-go on his teams. But again, this will be his highest damage if you can actually get it off. But for a lot of these bosses, they'll be in a stun phase, no buff, right? And that's actually a problem with Dehya too. If they're in a stun phase, no buff. Miko. A lot of Miko's aggravate teams don't have shields, especially because we aren't getting a Dendro Shielder until next update when the set comes out. So this could actually be beneficial on those teams since, like, especially in Abyss, like this current one, you'll be taking a lot of damage for the in-between phases. So you'll actually get a nice buff to both your elemental skill and your burst. Now, I can't say it's better than Gilded because of that, because you do want EM on aggravate teams, but again, potential option. Now, this is possibly Nilu's new best 4-piece on non-Bloom teams. On Bloom teams, she already has really good sets for that, but regardless, even if you aren't running her as a DPS character, you could still use the 2-piece if you don't have a better set for her, so pretty solid. And Alhaitham, basically the same reason stated as Miko. Those teams don't really have shielders most of the time, so if he takes damage, huge increase for his E skill and ultimate, where a lot of his damage comes from. Now, everyone below, as you can see, can use the 2-piece either because they are a healer or they scale HP in some sort of way. I'm sure you know that by now. Again, Yelan for the C6, Kokomi for just general use, Utao general use, right? Even though it's worse in other sets, you know that. And then everyone else, no point in touching it. And for the last one, we have the Hydra set. So this one is even more simpler. It's basically just, hey, Nilou can use the 4-piece if she's a DPS. Not that I would, but technically she can use it and get the stacks like somewhat reliably. Tartaglia, this is, I'm pretty sure, just straight up his new best in slot set, considering how much it gives him, and he can easily get all those attacks off. Ayato, it could be pretty competitive set for. I don't know the raw numbers, but it should be pretty decent to run over other options. Granted, these two characters have their current best set in the strong box, so I don't know about farming this specifically for them, especially because it's already easy enough to get their artifacts, but you may consider doing that. And then DPS Candace. Yes, you can do DPS Candace. Yes, this artifact set works with her. Is it her best? I don't know, because I haven't done the math for Candace. The other Hydras, of course, can use the 2-piece in various ways. If you are earlier game or don't have a better emblem set for basically all of them, except for the 2 healers. And yeah, that's it. I want to know what you guys think down below in the comments. Like, comment, subscribe, peace, do all the stuff. Do everything, please. I need the views. Anyways, see ya. Bye.